Thank you for being here with us, Jill, on the 154th Gandhi Jayanti.
Thank you.
On September 21st, we had the International Day of Peace, and coming up on the 2nd of October, we have the International Day of Nonviolence on Gandhi Jayanti.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we relate between nonviolence and peace? What's the comparison there?
So I think people know peace. September 21st has been a long time day of recognizing peace, peace in the world, peace between people, peace between nations. I think the new edition, which I remember when it happened actually, was I think 2005, when the Indian government started the International Day of Nonviolence, got UN sanction for it. And I think the reason they did is they wanted to bring in the idea of Gandhi, his birthday, and not just Gandhi, but the fact that Gandhi represented a kind of way of nonviolence, you know. And in my understanding, that day helps us to think through the structural violence in which we live and how to make the world more nonviolent, not only by our behavior and actions, but in helping institutions and social order, the society become more nonviolent. So it's very, very important addition to peace. And often now, Sahib, we try to link the 21st of September to the 2nd of October to show peace and reaching nonviolence. So we actually look at all the days in between. So these are both important dates, but I'm very happy that nonviolence was added, especially on Mahatma Gandhi's birthday.
So you discussed structural oppression,
right?
Taking into consideration, the upcoming International Day of Nonviolence.
Right.
How would you describe nonviolent action in response to that violence?
Well, that's absolutely right. We have control over our own actions in confronting structural violence, and so this is our response. And what you want to do is get as many people as possible to act in nonviolent social action, because that will influence the structures ultimately, right? And so an example I'll just give you from India, when a lot of marginalized people who were very landless came together, they could press against the policymakers or the power holders in the society. And with that pressure, they could change policies. And I think that's an example where the policies were structurally violent against these poor people, these marginalized communities. They had a way to address the violence we used to have big pediatras, long marches. We would have dharnas, sit-ins, various forms of ways to make these communities visible in front of policymakers and make their agency the backbone of that nonviolent social action. And when a politician or a policymaker sees that, they will be influenced. And that structurally violent policy is likely to change. And this has been our experience.
When I met you last year, we were in Madurai, South India, where you had helped organize the Ahimsa Santhai conference, or the Nonviolent Economics Conference.
Right.
Would you mind explaining what Ahimsa Santhai is? What's the philosophy behind it? And looking back on this past year, what do you think has come out of that conference, out of that Nonviolent Economics Conference?
Well, the Ahimsa Santhai is translated as nonviolent marketplace. And what a group of young people did is they came together and decided that if they could bring hand-based producers, farmers, artisans, weavers together in a marketplace. They would be bringing a group of people that could pressure, by virtue of them coming together, they could create their own economic relationships and pressure the larger mainstream economy. Just as we talked earlier about social action, this is another form of bringing a group of people together to act differently, and through acting differently, they pressure the mainstream economy. But what was interesting, Sahib Bhai, since you were there, you remember, is at the same time we had thinkers, not just the market itself. We had a learning forum where people from all over India and beyond came to talk about what is a nonviolent economy. We see this marketplace where all these people, hand-based producers, are coming together to create a set of economic relations between themselves. But how do we see the long-term vision of this work? And that was a very interesting learning forum, which gave us an understanding that a nonviolent marketplace has to be local, but it has to be decentralized, and it has to build from the capacities of people so they're included. Yeah? And I think that learning forum gave us a way of seeing, in the context of southern India, where it was taking place, what an alternative economy would look like. And you might remember so many young people came and they could see an alternative economy being articulated in a theoretical framing, but they could also see the actual practitioners. And I think that was a very powerful message for people. It gave people a way of coming closer into a network, these producers, and they have just created a brand called Ahimsa brand, which connects them now. They can all use the same brand. And they are slowly building their capacities in a way that they are sharing the learnings with each other. And I think this has been a tremendous outcome, lots more work to do, but a good beginning in the first year following this Ahimsa Santhai.
A year ago, you were in South India helping to organize this Ahimsa Santhai event.
Yeah.
And today you're here with us on Gandhi Jayanti. You're here in Canada. What are your plans in Canada here?
So one of the things that I was called to do in Canada for this period of time was to look at how to bring nonviolent action to one small set of communities in Eastern Canada. I know I am here with you in Western Canada, but actually the area that I'm focused on with a group of people is to see how in Eastern Canada we can carry out some sort of nonviolent action. And that nonviolent action is not with nonviolent economy, as we did in South India. People requested that be more focused on how do we bring nonviolence to the whole issue of nuclear weapons. So we're trying to now see how do we bring these techniques of nonviolent social action, which I just mentioned to you, to an area that is of great concern to people in Eastern Canada. You know, Halifax is a center of the Navy and a center of shipment, and people are concerned that nuclear weapons are coming through the harbor and going to various places. They're not only concerned by the transportation of those, but the implications of nuclear weapons. And so we're trying to unpack how this nonviolent social action relates to this. And it's very challenging because it's very different from the work that I just mentioned in India, but also very exciting because it engages youth and it engages us in looking at economies of peace, science for peace, and ultimately our future needs to be a peaceful one. So I'm very happy to be here working on this project.
So do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, my final thought is I'm just delighted to be part of a Mahatma Gandhi Foundation for World Peace. I think, I have been interacting with this foundation for a number of years, and it's very exciting that in Canada, Gandhi is still seen for not only for something, but having relevance within Canadian society today. And I just feel that this is one of my homes because it aligns with the deepest of values. And I just could not think of a better place to spend Gandhi Jayanti this year.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us, Jill.